Okay, greetings from Toronto, guys. How are you today?
Good.
Good, thank you.
Good. Well, I got to tell you something. If I can avoid a red eye, I will because they suck big time. But this one
Mhm.
takes the cake. And Richard, I got to ask you, I mean, you always take these, well, lately, you've been taking a lot of these roles that put you in these precarious thriller, kind of situations. What's wrong with you? Seriously.
I I often ask myself the same question. Why do I put myself into these situations? I always get a bit of a kick out of when you have a kind of functioning regular character that gets thrust into sort of a machine that stress tests them. I always
Yeah.
think that's going to be really interesting to see. Do they break? Do they fail? How are they going to get out of this impossible situation? And with Matthew Nolan, he starts the story as a high status doctor at a conference, and by the end of it, he's just a pawn in the crosshairs, and all of his friends are dead. It's quite an extraordinary journey for him.
Oh, big time for sure. And Jing, for you, I mean, you're playing a detective who kind of gets thrown into this situation. She doesn't want to go on this flight. Like she's just so not interested, but she is in it the minute, to win it kind of thing. For you, when you got this script, how exciting was it for you to find out what, because you, a few episodes that they gave me, I mean, I'm so I can't wait to watch it, the rest, but I already see you kicking some butt. So what was that like for you?
Oh my God. Well, they gave me three scripts at the beginning, and I was like, I just plowed through them. I was like, what happens next? I must know. And it's one of those things where it's like you think you'll know by the next one, and you just don't. So even by
Yeah.
three, I was like, I still don't know what happens. At this point, I was like, I don't know what I have to do to get this role, but it's mine. I have to play her. I want to go on this journey with her. I also loved all of the stuff with her family and her
Yeah.
background and her immigrant trauma and all of that, and just playing with, at this point I didn't know whether Nolan is guilty or not, but just to kind of play that sort of dynamic with, and I didn't know Richard was going to be Nolan, but to just sort of keep taking that step forward and then pulling back, and that sort of push pull dynamic that they have so wonderfully a straddle of the 6 episodes. I just thought it was a very unique story that I hadn't seen for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. Because you're right. Yeah, he's there as your kind of, prisoner type thing. You got to get him to China. But I think that you have to rely on each other too because of what is happening in this story. So it's very on the edge. I'm so into it. I love it. Richard, for you, I mean, well, for both of you, but Richard first, working in such a claustrophobic, environment. Wow, I don't know if I could handle that all day long. What was that like for you? I mean, being on a 10-hour flight is bad enough, but to work in this type of environment continuously,
Yeah.
that's a big challenge.
Yeah, I do quite a few long haul flights because I live in New York.
Yeah.
But this was a 6 week long haul flight. So we were in that aeroplane for 6 weeks, slowly making our way down the plane, under the plane as the story progressed. But I mean, and not only is he on in a cabin on a plane, he's strapped into his seat and he's handcuffed. So I couldn't really do very much. But I loved it. We both absolutely loved the plane, expecting it to be a nightmare, but it was brilliant, and we got such good support from our fellow actors around us, and we built a little family, and it was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah, Jing, what about for you? Because of course, it's directed by Peter Downey, who did Flight Plan, so he kind of knows what he's talking about when it comes to planes, and knows the environment. And was this also the plane that was used for Hijack too, with Idris Elba?
Yes,
Yeah,
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 same plane.
yeah, very
Slightly
cool.
different decor, I think.
How come he wasn't hiding in the bottom of the plane? What's that? What's that all about?
That would have been
I
fun.
know that was
A hybrid
he would have got
crossover.
us out like that.
I would have liked to see Richard and Idris, connect there. That would have been kind of funny. Actually, I would like to see that. Maybe in a sequel. We'll see. But Jing, for you to work in an environment like that as well, and when you're sitting, a lot of your scenes, obviously, with Richard in the seat and being so claustrophobic, does it kind of scare you to have to do that, or is it a good challenge for you?
No, I love it. I'm the kind of actor that likes to have everything around me be as predictable as possible so that I can really focus on, what my job is in hand. Because I think, I've been very lucky to have been on some amazing locations. But, when it
Yes.
suddenly rains or there's a wind in your face or there are people screaming in the crowds, it's so out of your control that you just then start panicking, go, I don't know how to do my job. So what I loved when I first read the script was, for me, this read like a theatre piece. You've got one set and you're depending on the dynamic and the performance of these two characters and how they relate to each other. You can't sort of cheat it away with like this amazing location or this like, this fancy beach or whatever. It's like you've just got us. And we
Yeah.
have to kind of really carry that. And there's no way out, which I also love because it does add to the claustrophobia of it. But for me, it's, we were on the plane, but we've got your mates around you. We had such as Richard said, we had an amazing supporting cast, we had an amazing crew. And so, yeah, I mean, once they shut cut, you step off the plane and you're with your mates and eating donuts and then we're in a field as well. So it was variety. It was like summer camp.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah, well, that's the best. That's the best kind of shoot to work on for sure. Richard, there's a great scene in the beginning, within the first two episodes, where your character is trying to escape. Like he's just not getting on this plane. He doesn't. But it's set where he in the middle of the waiting area at Heathrow. Can you tell me a little bit about shooting that scene? Because was that real passengers, and were they told like, here we have, Richard's our actors are coming in, and I can't even imagine the chaos that was.
So, yeah, it was quite an ordeal because it's really hard when you're shooting in public spaces like that because you don't want to freak people out, but also if they're too aware of what's happening, they start heckling and trying to get involved, and you can never ever achieve what you're trying to do. So there was a smattering of background artists around me, but that really was a speech to a real hall full of people. We only really got 3 goes at it before people start to warm up to it, and then they don't respond in the way you want. But even thinking about it now, my heart starts to pump up my chest because it was so nerve-wracking. Like my palms were sweating. It's a little bit like going on for a first night of theatre but not really knowing what's going to happen. So yeah, it was pretty intense.
Right, but here's my question. In the age of social media, I mean, even in the show, obviously everyone's pulling out their phones because that's the scene they wanted to get out there.
Yeah.
But in real life, is that controlled so that the show isn't ruined for people who,
I think there were people that did throw that up online that night, but I think ITV saw it as really good marketing.
I guess, yeah. That totally makes sense. I guess so. Why not? It is a good
Yeah,
plug
I mean,
for the show.
it's kind of like drama eating itself, which I quite like.
Yeah. Jing, tell me a little bit about working with Richard and what it was like. Did you guys hit it off immediately? Is he an easy guy to work with? Come on, tell the truth.
The truth. Okay, fine. He's the best. I always felt really, really safe with Richard. Even when we presented the BAFTAs together, I was so scared of falling. And he was like, I won't let you fall. And for me, that really summed up what it was like to work with Richard because he just has you. And I've just all my most enjoyable scenes were working with him because I just felt like we had such a journey as characters to go on together, and you could really own his journey as far as your scene partner and where they're at. And so we thought very similarly about things, even though our characters come from completely different perspectives within a scene. But there was just this, I don't know, there was just this unspoken, for me, I felt like we had this unspoken understanding right from the often, as Richard said, he lives in New York, so we didn't have any time before to prep. But one of the actors, Dan, who plays Zhang, he asked me if Richard and I had worked together before because he was like, you guys just have this like really organic process. I was like, I know, thank God, it was it worked out really, really well, especially given how short our schedule was. We had many, many pages a day to shoot and no one could drop the ball. So I loved working with Richard.
Yeah,
You've got to say something back.
Go ahead, Richard.
I'll tell you the
Yeah, now
truth,
you can say
when
nice things
when I
back
get
to
up,
Jing.
one of the things that's always difficult when you like the person you're working with, but you have to play against that, especially at the beginning. Because I had sort of got a sense of who Jing was, what she was like, her sense of humor. Early on, I was like, I can't wait for the armor to crack as the character. I was really looking forward to that moment when it was like, is he going to get through to her? And actually, not to spoil anything, I feel like by the time we got into the cabin at the end in episode 5, where she sort of told him about her life, and I really felt like an alchemy between actor and character. And he sort of falls asleep on her shoulder, and I was like, I thought, I don't know, I just felt very warm about that relationship.
Yeah, it's nice. Now, Jing, I want to know if now when you're on a flight, do you think twice about eating the meal?
No, it's funny because people ask us, well, ask this, and for me, I just so nice to fly because it now feels so quick because we've been sitting in the same seats for 6 weeks. So even if you do a long haul flight, you're just like, oh, that was over really quickly. But I mean, airplane food is not my favorite food anyway, so I always feel weird eating it. I'm like, what is in here at the best of times?
Funny enough, my son, I mean, he's in his 30s, but always says to me, I love taking flights because I love airplane food. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, what is, anyway, I don't know. I just, yeah.
Don't they put like so much salt in there because the altitude messes with your sense of taste? So you're like, what am I eating?
Exactly, right? Anyway, yeah, I'll bring my own little protein bars. Richard, just before we go, I just want to adjust a couple of things. Last year at the Toronto International Film Festival, you were not here, but I got to see a wonderful film called Boy in the Woods that you did with I mean, Maxwell Smart and then, Jet Klein, who starred both Canadians, obviously. And Maxwell's story is just wonderful. What was it like for you on a personal note to work on something like that and bring that story? Because we need more stories like that.
It was really amazing. And I think when you're telling somebody's true story and they're still alive and they're an executive producer on the film, and the fact that Max has had such an extraordinary life despite what he went through as a 9-year-old, you just feel the weight of responsibility. I loved that. I loved shooting it. We shot up in Northern Ontario. I was there for about 2 weeks, but no, it was lovely. Really, really sort of grounded and very moving.
Yeah, it was a wonderful film, and it's such an honor for me to meet Max, that he's
Yeah,
still here and telling his
Canada for
stories.
making it, for financing and making it, and it's on general release in cinemas at the moment, isn't it, in Canada?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's wonderful.
Amazing.
More Holocaust survivors need to tell their stories. Jing, what are we going to see next from you after this?
I am writing a few things. I'm cooking things up. Both are rom-coms. One's based on a book. It's with Film 4, and another one is a classic 90s film that's being adapted into television.
Oh, okay. I will keep an eye open for that. And then lastly, Richard, and speaking of writing, my goodness, like I don't know how you have the time to do what you do. Do you ever sleep? Because now you've got this book Geneva out, which by the way, I have on hold on my library here. And honestly, I've heard nothing but great things, so I'm excited to read it. But like, how now? You're an author as well. You're doing so many things. Where do you find the time for this stuff?
On long haul flights, I do a lot of writing on long haul flights. But yeah, the second book is called The Cut, and that's out on my birthday this year on August 22nd. So yeah, but that just tells you how many night flights I've been on tapping away on a computer keyboard.
When there's not people dying around you.
And waiting around in trailers on film sets. I mean, there's so much time waiting around. I mean, I just get my head down.
It's true, right? Hurry up and wait. You're sitting, I guess you're right, but keep it coming, guys. This series is just so fantastic. I really am so into it. You both are so wonderful in it, and I really do appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you so much.